All right, future CAs, welcome to this Masterclass Explainer. Today, we're diving right into Chapter 2 of the Companies Act 2013, which is all about the incorporation of a company and everything incidental to it. To make these legal provisions really stick in your mind, we're going to use a simple building construction analogy. Think of creating a company just like building a house from the ground up.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're looking at promoters and company formation, incorporation, and Section 8, our rulebooks, the MOA and AOA, legal doctrines and alterations, and we'll wrap it all up with the quick revision and practice. Let's get to it.
Section 1. Promoters and Company Formation. Now you know every great building needs a visionary architect, right? Well, in corporate law, that architect is the promoter.
Definitely mark this down because it's an absolute exam favorite. According to Section 269, a promoter isn't just someone who initially starts the company. It's literally anyone who pulls the strings, has control over the affairs, or whose directions the board of directors is accustomed to acting upon. The only exception here, professionals like lawyers or accountants who are just doing their jobs.
So as we're laying the foundation, Section 3 gives us our baseline numbers. You need a minimum of 7 people to form a public company, but only 2 people to form a private company. It helps to think of a public company as this massive commercial high-rise, whereas a private company is more like your standard family home.
Now, following that analogy, if a private company is a standard house or one-person company, an OPC is basically a tiny home for one. But it comes with super strict residency rules. You need exactly 1 member, and you absolutely must have a nominee clause in case of death or incapacity. Both the member and the nominee have to be natural persons and Indian citizens. No minors allowed, and you definitely cannot carry out non-banking financial activities or convert into a charitable Section 8 company.
And here is the crucial number you absolutely need to remember: 180. A natural person cannot be a member or a nominee of more than 1 OPC at a time. If a person accidentally becomes a member of 2 OPCs, say because their nominee status was triggered by the passing of another member, they have exactly 180 days to correct this. Burn that number into your memory.
Moving right along to Section 2, Incorporation and Section 8. Let's look at how we actually start laying the bricks through the incorporation process.
Listen up, guys, because the SPICE Plus process is literally your ultimate legal construction tool. You file Form INC32 with the Register of Companies. You attach your blueprints, which are your MOA and AOA. You submit declarations confirming you haven't committed any fraud. And once the ROC is satisfied, they hand you the deed to the house, your certificate of incorporation, and that unique 21-digit alphanumeric corporate identity number, or SIN.
Okay, I've got a fantastic memory trick for you for Section 8 companies. These are basically like nonprofit community centers built to promote specific lawful objects, and they apply their profits solely to those objects rather than paying out dividends. Just remember the acronym SECURE for their lawful objects: science, education, charity, useful arts, religion, and environment.
But hey, do not forget the penalties for violating Section 8 conditions. The exam loves these numbers. If a Section 8 company conducts affairs fraudulently, the company itself faces a minimum fine of 10 lakhs, scaling all the way up to a massive 1 crore rupees. Directors in default face fines anywhere from 25,000 to 25 lakhs. That is a massive hit to the wallet, so compliance is totally key. Section 3. Rulebooks, the MOA, and AOA. All right, the building is physically constructed and registered, so it's time to lay down the absolute rules for the property.
Think of the Memorandum of Association, the MOA, as your external boundary walls and foundational blueprint. It tells outsiders what the company is and what it can legally do. On the flip side, the AOA, the Articles of Association, acts as the interior rules for the residents. It governs the internal management and everyday regulations of the company.
Section 4 gives us the MOA, and it's built on 6 fundamental pillars: the name clause, the registered office clause, the object clause, which defines your purpose, the liability clause, the capital clause, and the subscription clause. You literally cannot depart from these 6 clauses. If the company tries to do something outside its object clause, well, that action is legally void.
And speaking of that name clause, you've got to lock these reservation timelines into your spatial memory. If you're building a brand new company, you reserve the name using SPICE Plus, and it's valid for 20 days. But if you're doing a renovation, meaning an existing company is changing its name, you use the Run Web service, and that reservation is valid for 60 days.
Now, moving inside to the interior rules, the AOA, we hit this really crucial concept called entrenchment. Think of entrenchment like installing a heavy vault door in your interior rules. A standard rule might be changed by a regular special resolution, but an entrenched rule requires conditions that are way more restrictive. Think requiring agreement from every single member in a private company just to unlock and change it.
Section 4. Legal Doctrines and Alterations. Time to check out the security system of our corporate building. These are the legal doctrines protecting everyone involved. First up, the doctrine of ultravirus, which is literally Latin for beyond powers. Remember how the MOA is the external boundary wall? Well, ultravirus is like a train trying to drive on a highway. If the company acts outside the capacity stated in its MOA's object clause, the act is dead on arrival. It's completely void and cannot be enforced by anyone, not even the company itself. On the flip side, we have the doctrine of indoor management. Shout out to the classic Royal British Bank versus Turquin case. This one protects the outsider. Just like eating at a restaurant where you simply assume the kitchen passed health codes, outsiders dealing in good faith can assume the company's interior AOA rules and internal proceedings were properly followed.
Okay, let's nail down these red flag timelines with a quick micro summary before we test your knowledge. Under Section 3A, if your member count falls below the legal minimum for more than 6 months, remaining aware members become personally, severally liable for company debts. Under Section 10A, you have exactly 180 days to file your commencement of business declaration. And if you're altering your state-registered office, they must dispose of that application within 60 days. Miss these, and you trigger severe penalties.
Section 5, quick revision in practice. You've built the foundation and put up the walls, so let's test your structural integrity with a quick mock exam. Practice question 1. Let's see if you remember those tiny house rules we covered. What's the absolute maximum number of OPCs a natural person can incorporate as a member at any given time? Have a think.
The answer is exactly 1. You literally cannot be a member of more than one OPC, nor can you be a nominee for more than one OPC. And remember that golden 180-day rule to fix it if a nominee trigger accidentally puts you in 2?
All right, practice question 2. Which legal doctrine states that an outsider dealing with a company cannot be assumed to have knowledge of its internal irregularities? Think back to our restaurant analogy.
It's the doctrine of indoor management. As long as the outsider doesn't have actual knowledge of the mess or isn't dealing with a forged document, they are completely safe. Well, if you nailed these, you are totally on track to crushing Chapter 2 of the Companies Act. So, the big question is, what corporate legal mystery are we going to decode and conquer next? Keep studying hard, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.